Welcome back. And once again, we're going to have a few moments to meditate on a hymn, which was probably many people's favorites. It certainly is very well known to all of us. And it was actually my father's favorite hymn. Amazing Grace, its old favorite among many Christian communities and congregations. And it finds its scriptural root in one of the Gospels that is really an integral part of the Lenten season. When Jesus healed a man who has been blind since birth, it raises a lot of stress from those that are in power. They confront the man himself, and they repeatedly ask both him and his parents how this healing happened. He answered, "I do not know whether he is a sinner. One thing I do know, that though I was blind, I now see." And they said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I have told you already, and you would not listen. What do you want to hear it again?" Now, in this healing story, it's reflective of how being once blind and now being able to see, while elsewhere in the Gospels, the parables that we hear of a similar intent are all about being found after having been lost. And all of these themes are found together in Amazing Grace. Now, the history of this hymn is also pretty well known, so I'll just touch on it a little bit before we meditate on the hymn. It was written by an Anglican priest and poet, John Newton, who wrote from his own personal experience. He grew up without any kind of a real religious connection, and he got a reputation for being rather rebellious. He was pressed into the Royal Navy, and then in 1748, he became involved with the slave trade. In that same year, the boat that he was on was caught in a severe storm, and when the violent seas overwhelmed him, Newton cried out to God. He would later say that this was his moment of conversion, although it took another 6 or 7 years to get him to stop sailing, to study theology, and to become both a priest and an abolitionist. And so let's take a few moments and contemplate those words that we probably know by heart. Let's see if there's something else about them that strikes you today. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saves a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fear relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright, shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. And if we can see our way to contemplating a few questions. The first one is, how does the concept of God's grace sit with you? What does it mean to you personally? Secondly, this hymn is a story of conversion. Have you ever experienced a radical change like that in your life? And finally, since most of us don't really like change, how does it feel to know that God's grace is available always, but in particular, that it's available to us in times of great upheaval? So, as you take those questions in your heart to ponder them today, I wish you all the best. Hope to see you back again tomorrow. And until then, take care and God bless.